You've been in a conversation where you walked away feeling smaller, without anyone raising their voice. No insults, no threats, just silence, calm responses, and somehow you're the one explaining yourself. That wasn't an accident. That was engineered. Most people believe influence requires charisma, volume, or physical presence. But the most sophisticated form of social influence operates in complete silence. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't argue. It simply creates a gravitational field where others orbit around its center. This pattern appears everywhere. In meetings where one person says nothing, yet everyone glances their way before making decisions. In relationships where one partner's quiet disapproval reshapes behavior more effectively than any argument could. In social gatherings where the least talkative person somehow controls the entire room's emotional temperature. The reason this goes unnoticed is simple. We're taught to watch for obvious power plays. We look for raised voices, aggressive postures, direct confrontation. Meanwhile, silent dominance operates beneath that radar entirely. It understands something fundamental about human psychology, that the brain fills silence with meaning, and absence creates more tension than presence ever could. The first mechanism is strategic withholding. Human beings are pattern-seeking creatures. Our brains constantly try to predict behavior and fill informational gaps. When someone consistently provides less than expected, fewer words, less emotional display, minimal reaction, our minds interpret this as depth. We assume there's more beneath the surface. This creates what psychologists call the iceberg effect. The hidden portion seems larger and more significant than what's visible. In practice, this appears when someone responds to your detailed explanation with a single sentence. When they meet your enthusiasm with measured calm. When they answer your question but never ask one back. Your brain registers the imbalance and begins working to close it. You offer more information, more emotion, more effort, trying to reach equilibrium. They continue giving less. The power differential widens with every exchange. The second mechanism is emotional neutrality as leverage. Emotions are contagious. When someone displays anger, others become defensive. When someone shows excitement, others feel energized. But when someone remains emotionally flat while everyone around them reacts, they become the stable reference point. The room recalibrates around their temperature. This neutrality isn't the absence of emotion. It's the deliberate management of emotional display. In a heated discussion, the person who stays calm isn't necessarily right, but they appear more rational. Their steadiness makes others' reactions seem excessive by comparison. Soon, people begin moderating themselves without being asked, matching the emotional tone set by the silent party. The brain interprets emotional control as status. In ancestral environments, the ability to remain calm under pressure signaled leadership capability. Modern social situations trigger these same ancient assessments. The person who maintains composure while others lose theirs is unconsciously elevated in the group hierarchy. The third mechanism is the discomfort of negative space. Silence in conversation creates cognitive pressure. When someone doesn't fill expected conversational spaces, our brains experience it as tension that needs resolution. Most people will rush to fill that silence, often revealing more than intended, offering concessions, or adjusting their position to generate a response. Picture a simple scenario. Two colleagues discuss a project timeline. One suggests a deadline. The other simply looks at them, says nothing, maintains eye contact. 5 seconds pass. 10. The first person begins elaborating, justifying, eventually modifying their suggestion without the second person saying a single word. The silence itself became a negotiating tool. This works because the human brain interprets prolonged silence as potential disapproval or disagreement. Rather than endure that uncertainty, we instinctively move to resolve it. The person comfortable with silence wields this discomfort as influence. The fourth mechanism is selective visibility. Silent dominance operates through strategic presence and absence. Someone might be quiet in most interactions, but speak precisely when their words carry maximum weight. This contrast makes their rare contributions seem more valuable. Scarcity principle applies to attention and words just as it does to resources. In group settings, this person might contribute nothing for 20 minutes, then offer one observation that reframes the entire discussion. Because they've established a pattern of selective engagement, people lean in when they do speak. Their silence has created anticipation. Their words land with disproportionate impact. The psychological mechanism here involves the spotlight effect, combined with intermittent reinforcement. The brain becomes conditioned to value these unpredictable moments of engagement more highly than consistent participation. Scenario 1. The workplace dynamic. A team meeting debates marketing strategies. Everyone contributes ideas, building on each other's suggestions. One person sits back, occasionally taking notes, offering minimal verbal input. When the manager asks for their opinion, they deliver a brief, measured assessment. Within minutes, the group's direction shifts toward their perspective. Not because they argued for it, but because their restraint created perceived authority. Scenario 2. The social gathering. At a dinner party, one guest remains slightly withdrawn, while others engage in animated conversation. They smile appropriately, respond when addressed, but never dominate airtime. Yet as the evening progresses, people increasingly direct comments toward them, seeking their reaction. Their quiet observation has transformed them into the evening's unofficial judge, everyone performing for an audience of one. Scenario 3. The relationship pattern. In a personal relationship, one partner consistently responds to emotional intensity with calm brevity. When the other expresses frustration, concern, or excitement, they're met with measured, minimal responses. Over time, the more expressive partner finds themselves constantly trying to generate engagement, adjusting their behavior to earn fuller reactions, while the silent partner's preferences quietly reshape the relationship's boundaries. Recognition begins with noticing imbalance. Pay attention to who's doing the emotional and conversational labor in any interaction. If you find yourself consistently offering more words, more explanation, more justification than you're receiving, examine why. The pattern reveals itself in your own behavior changes. Are you moderating your natural responses to match someone else's temperature? Are you filling silences that make you uncomfortable? Are you seeking approval or reaction from someone who consistently withholds it? These are markers. Protection comes through reclaiming your baseline. Maintain your natural communication style regardless of others' restraint. If someone responds to your 3 sentences with 1, don't escalate to 6 trying to generate engagement. Match their brevity or simply let silence exist without rushing to fill it. Set internal boundaries around emotional labor. You're not responsible for generating both sides of an interaction. If someone consistently offers minimal engagement, accept that as their choice, rather than a problem you need to solve through increased effort. Most importantly, recognize that silence and emotional restraint aren't inherently meaningful. Your brain will try to fill those gaps with interpretation, usually negative. Resist this. Sometimes silence is just silence. Sometimes minimal response is just minimal response. Silent dominance succeeds because it exploits the space between what's said and what's meant. It operates in the gap between our expectation of engagement and the reality of withdrawal. It leverages our discomfort with ambiguity and our need for social equilibrium. But here's the realization that changes everything. This pattern only functions if you participate. The moment you stop trying to close the gap, stop filling the silence, stop seeking reaction, the dynamic collapses. Power derived from withholding only exists if others are trying to receive. The strongest position isn't matching silence with silence or restraint with restraint. It's recognizing the pattern, understanding the mechanism, and simply choosing not to play. Because once you see the architecture behind social influence, you stop responding to it unconsciously. Awareness doesn't just protect you, it transforms how these patterns appear. What once seemed like mysterious charisma reveals itself as deliberate technique. And techniques, once identified, lose their invisible grip. The psychology behind silent dominance is elegant, but consciousness is its natural predator.